from Oaxaca, Mexico. Wonderful, Sebastian. Thanks for being here. Kathy in Oak Park. Just her. Wonderful. Grab your dog, Kathy. That's what some other folks did. Russ has his dog. Terrific. We've got some folks from Michigan, too. Thanks, Leslie, for joining us. Great. Okay, we've got some wonderful folks in the room today. Thanks for being here. I'm just going to get us started. So I'm Anna Garcia Doyle. I'm the Executive Director of One Earth Film Festival. I really want to welcome you to our virtual screening and discussion, which we hope will present rich opportunities for learning and a brave and safe space for important conversations that matter deeply right now in our country and across the globe. I love this wonderful, playful film, Here We Are, Notes for Living on Planet Earth. Here are two cool parts to watch out for. First, where the little boy in the story, Finn, swims with the fishes because it looked so fun. And second, where the speaker says we all share the earth and can leave notes for everybody else about our planet. So as you watch, maybe think about what notes you would leave to somebody else about living on our earth. So we couldn't do this work without the support of our sponsors and partners. So I just really want to thank the Field Museum of Natural History in the city of Chicago, as well as the Oak Park Public Library in Oak Park, Illinois. Thank you so much for your support. And also to anyone, if your circumstances allow, please donate to support One Earth's nonprofit year-round screening events, our youth programs, and more. And you could do that at oneearthfilmfest.org. We are thrilled you're with us as One Earth Film Fest celebrates 10 years of inspiring change and utilizes the power of film to spark change on topics of environment and those intersected with environment, like social justice. The fest has had to adapt to a virtual format, but we strive to stay true to our model. While we're not physically together, we are here together, live, virtually, still able to create community, become aware of issues, engage in dialogue, and be inspired to act. African-American activist Angela Davis said, "You have to act as if it were possible to radically transform the world." The stories in our fest films reflect that possibility. Our collective actions will achieve that possibility. Our event will take place in 4 parts. We'll introduce you to some folks who will help us have a great discussion after the film. We'll then watch it together. Then afterwards, we'll unpack the film's themes in a facilitated Q&A with our wonderful panelists. Please participate by using the chat to share thoughts, ideas, or questions. We'll end by sharing concrete actions you can take to be part of the solution. These actions come from our panelists and other action partners. As we live current movements and reframe narratives around justice, environment, and bringing innovative, equitable solutions to our climate crisis, we're hopeful for the future. I am grateful to the knowledgeable filmmakers, film subjects, facilitators, and panelists joining this and other fest events. They'll guide discussions to help spark and sustain actions for the protection of our One Earth and for the just treatment of its resources and its people. We've found that shared agreements help keep our conversations safe and respectful. Please observe these agreements when participating. Put aside your preconceptions, acknowledge your privilege, internalize what you've learned, approach the conversation with respect. Engage your active listening, use I statements and get comfortable with your own story. Acknowledge Native peoples who came before us in protecting our land.
I'm Wendy Negron. I am an early childhood educator. I'm a mom. I love nature. And I especially care about the nature of people, which is why I'm here today. I am also a preschool teacher with the Park District of Oak Park. But today I am a facilitator for this special movie event with you all. And I'm so excited to be joined today to talk about this film. And here we are. Can everyone see this? Here we are, each one of us in our own special spot on planet Earth. Yet, we're all here together. We came to watch a movie together right now. Why? Why did we come together to watch a movie? I think we know that this movie is going to be really special and there's something in it for us. We also will watch the movie and then what? Do we turn off our computer and go in the kitchen and find a snack? We could. Or we could stay right where we are together now and talk about the movie. That's exactly what I'll do. When the movie is over today, I'll be right here and you're going to have an opportunity to type in the chat your questions. You can answer questions, tell us what you think. You and your family can put a message in the chat. I'll be seeing it, and everyone in the audience will be reading it. So please stick around right after the movie so we can talk about how cool it was. After we talk about the movie, which is called Here We Are, Notes for Living on Planet Earth, you're going to meet some really special guests who have been taking a lot of notes while living on planet Earth. I want to introduce you quickly to these people. They are Alison Paul. Do we see her? Alison Paul is the senior program manager, Chicago region of Keller Science Action Center and the Youth Conservation Action Programs at the Field Museum. Hi, Alison. We also have Hallel Howard. Is Hallel here? Hi, Hallel. Hallel is an 8th grader at John Fiske Elementary in Chicago and a member of Earth Force, which is an environmental youth program. Hello, thank you for being here, Hallel. You'll also meet Maddy Gregg. Maddy is a representative of Jane Goodall's Roots and Shoots National Youth Leadership Council. Thank you. Hello, Maddy. Thanks for being here. Great. And before we see our feature film today, please enjoy a short piece titled Enviro Man. Enviro Man is directed by our One Earth Film Festival's Young Filmmakers Contest 2021 honorable mention winner, Caitlin Clonan. Caitlin is the director of the film. She's a junior at Cazenovia College in New York. And I think Caitlin might be here now. Caitlin, if you're here, please jump into the chat and say hello. Okay, I'm not sure if Caitlin's here, but we are super excited to see her film. Immediately after Enviro Man, we will watch Here We Are, Notes for Living on Planet Earth. And it is such a treat for us to be joined right now by Phillip Hunt. Phillip is a partner and director at the multi-Emmy and BAFTA-winning Studio AKA. Phillip is the director of today's film. Phillip, thank you so much for being here with us. Would you please introduce your film now?
We made this film with Apple in celebration of Earth Day, a very important day. And so I think I'll introduce the film in the words of the artist and author Oliver Jeffers, whose wonderful picture book inspires this adaptation. It says in this book somewhere, our world can be a bewildering place, especially if you've only just got here. Your head will be filled with questions. So let's explore what makes our planet what it is and how we live on it. From land and sky to people and time, these notes can be your guide and start you on your journey. Anyway, we made a film about that, so I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Phillip. We are so excited to see Here We Are, Notes for Living on Planet Earth. Everyone, please enjoy the film. Remember, we will meet you right here after the movie to talk about it and get to know all of our guest speakers. Enjoy the movie. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Can you see my face? I think we need to make like 5-second applause for that movie. It was really, really good. Thank you. I have questions for you. Okay, everyone, get ready to put in your type. What was your favorite part of this film? I mean, something you still see right now. You can still hear it. It made you giggle. It made you smile. Share with us right now your favorite part. Whatever jumps in your head, tell us. Is anyone putting in some answers? Favorite part of the film? We've got a lot of applauses coming through. Todd says the animation was his favorite part. Russ says planting the acorn was a really touching moment. I agree. Seeing the stars in the sky. Nancy loved the ride. Milo really liked when the power went out. The telescope. The Earth is so beautiful, somebody says. Ezra says the Earth part of the museum. And the ending, Amy says, when he loves the Earth. Marco, I liked the ride at the museum too. That was really cool. And the underwater scenes. Zariah, 3 years old, says Planet Earth was my favorite. And the boy and the father having time together. Thank you so much. I think that's Carice. Oh, Suzanne, I agree with you. Finn's imagination. Yes. Emily says the squirrel dropping the acorn was her favorite part. I totally remember that too. Todd loved the globe ride too. All right. These are great responses. I mean, I can still feel that ride too. I think if we could go all around Earth, it would be the most sensational thing. Another question. Finn and his parents talked a lot about many things. I mean, they talked about a lot. Is there something you heard in the movie that you and your family talk about? Did you hear anything that you talk about at your house? Okay, send your chats in. I mean, they talked a lot about Earth Day. They talked about their favorite museums. They talked a lot about family meetings. Time is precious. Hallel, one of our guest speakers, says she remembers hearing them talk a lot about time and how it is precious. Thank you, Hallel. Marco says stars. Marco's familiar with stars. Yeah. I think that Finn and his family were definitely very excited about learning. Being kind to one another. There was a lot of kindness coming through in that film. Daniel also says being kind and respectful. Right, slowing down and really appreciating what each day is bringing us. The part when all their neighbors came over. Thank you, Jane. That was really moving. Yeah. It reminds me too of when I can get together with my friends and my neighbors. Things that we see on Earth and how to treat others. Okay, I have another question. If this movie gave you an idea, what is it? If you had any burning idea, like you definitely feel like you want to do something today. You want to go play something, you want to go see something. What do you want to do? Did you get an idea after watching this film? Put it in the chat. It sounds like a lot of people want to go be kind today. That is amazing that this film just moved you into a space of sharing and kindness. It's really touching. Thank you so much. Does anybody else have ideas that came to mind? And don't forget, there's at least 50 or 60 of us taking notes right now. So anything you're saying is really helpful. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to look at the chat again, and then we'll move on. If everyone, someone has an idea today. They're going to go be in nature. Right on. Someone wants to buy a telescope, Marco. Olive wants to go outside, and she wants to learn a different language. And Emily is going to go for a walk today. Brittany says she's going to attend a museum with her family. And Carice is going to go outside and thank nature. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. Someone's going to plant an acorn. Someone's going on a walk. Wow, Sean says he's going to ask more questions. Outstanding idea. Ezra's going to ride his bike and enjoy nature. And Phillip Hunt, our director, wants to go be with a lot of people again. Thank you, Phillip. Everyone, thank you for sharing out. I want to just turn it over to our director and panelists to give you an opportunity to hear from them. First, I'm going to tell you a quick bit about them. Phillip, as you know, Phillip Hunt is the director of today's film. He's with Studio AKA in London. He has made a lot of films, a few films with the author Oliver Jeffers. This movie you saw today is an adaptation of a best-selling book. He also, by the way, knows how to plate those earth pancakes that you saw in the movie. Alison Paul is also one of our guests. She is an environmental educator, a forest bather, outdoor enthusiast, mother of 2 children, and she works at the Field Museum as a senior program manager for the Keller Science Action Center. Hallel Howard is also with us. She is participating in a youth conservation action group called Earth Force. Hallel is an 8th grader, and this action program is for students in 6th to 8th grade. Maddy Gregg is a 10th grader in Los Angeles, and she enjoys finding new ways to help our planet. So we're going to hear from all of them. In the interest of time, I'm just going to maybe put out a loose question, and then we can start with Allison. So each of our guest speakers today is curating an experience with and for planet Earth. Some of them are educator, activist, group leader, and animation artist. A question I would like to put to them to guide us into more of their experience. Allison, Maddy, Hallel, and Phillip, what about this film today do you relate most intimately with? And if you just want to jump in, Allison, with what you connected with in the film and a little bit about you. Thank you. Can we hear Allison?
I love this film for so many reasons. I think for me, both in my professional background, but also as a parent, it captured so much of what I think is very important. Time is precious. And as you see the way in which the parents interact with their son, it's very clear that they're helping meet where his interest is at that time. And you see very proper things happen of fostering that sense of wonder and enthusiasm for the world around him, and it just sort of comes alive in a way that you can see how everything is so bright for him. I of course love it as well because there's a museum involved, and I love museums. And it's funny. I'll share in the chat something came out recently that museums are considered one of the safest indoor activities to do during COVID, and we would really encourage families to come visit us and see what you can do. Would also encourage you to get outside in nature. Wonderful things to see both inside museums and outside.
Thank you so much, Allison. Hallel Howard, would you come on and tell us what about this film do you relate to most intimately?
What most to was I could tell that the son was really intrigued by the things that were going on around him, and was very aware of the issues in his world and in the environment, and he wanted to know what he could do to change them, which is something I feel everyone should do.
Thank you so much. You can tell he was really emerging into more consciousness of his world. Thank you. Maddy Gregg in Los Angeles. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you connected to in this film?
Well, I love this film really deeply, and it spoke to me also as a youth conservationist, especially on how he wanted to help the planet once he realized how special it is. And also, what really resonated with me was kind of you could see the wheels turning within his head on what he wanted to help and how he wanted to help, and I really like how that was portrayed.
Yeah, it was really very well done in the film. Phillip, we know you're very intimate with the film. Do you want to tell us, even just today after seeing it for I don't know how many times, what really resonates with you right now?
Well, I know the film obviously inside out and backwards, but I'm pleased to say that every time I see it, I still have always forgotten something, which I'm suddenly reminded of. Oh, that bit! I really like that bit. But for me, what really stays with me is what inspired me to make the film in the first place, which was Oliver's story about becoming a parent for the first time and how all these questions came up from that experience. I mean, sort of the fundamental heart of both the book and the film is, I think, the relationship between a parent and a child. And in the film, we use that to frame two things. A message of environmental awareness. This is something that Finn learns in the film. But also what's wrapped up in that is a social one. that it's about us. The world is about us, and it's our home. And what's important is this place we share with everybody, animals, people, whatever. And I that all comes back to that very first scene where Finn's dad and mum bring him home. It's actually bringing him home from the hospital for the first time. That's kind of a bit more story than we told in the film, but that's what's happening. And a lot of new parents will appreciate what happens when you turn up back at home. There's no more doctors, nurses, or other grown-ups to help you. You're on your own with a child, and you suddenly think, oh my goodness, everything I know, I've got to somehow explain to this child, and this child is going to have to learn how everything in the world works. And so that inspired that opening scene with Finn's dad walking around the apartment saying, this is a coffee cup, or this is a frying pan, or just pointing out everything and realizing that could then go on. That once the basics of that baby's world, which is an apartment at that stage, was understood, the child could go on and learn everything about the world, as much as you can keep on learning, put it that way. But that for me, that first scene still touches me because I think it's because it's rooted in something that actually happened.
Thank you so much. Definitely, you definitely portrayed the layers of assimilating to everything around us, and that child was very strategically afforded to come into the world at a very healthy pace. It is a very overwhelming experience to be guiding groups, children, and ourselves through the world. Do we have any chats? Any questions for Allison, Hallel, Maddy, or Phillip? Please share right now if you have any questions about the film, Field Museum. What does it mean to get involved in a youth action program? What is that? And Maddy has probably a really cool story of starting out as a community helper, and now she's a leader with the Jane Goodall Roots and Shoots National Youth Council. So please, if you have any questions right now or just want to share something with one of our panelists, send it in the chat right now, and we can put your voice out there. If not, I can ask our panelists some more questions. I was curious. Everyone commented a lot, Phillip, on the ride in the museum. I don't think any of us have actually been on a ride in a museum. So is there a ride in the Field Museum, Allison, first?
The ride through your imagination, for sure. I don't think we have anything that quite takes you that high in the air these days. We have all sorts of exhibits you can see. We also have a wonderful plant garden around the museum as well, and all around museum campus.
Oh, cool. So very three-dimensional experiences are everywhere. Phillip, I think there's a question here. Was that movie CGI? Yeah. And I'm not really sure what it means. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, no. Mark, you're asking me whether the film was made in computer animation or whether it was made with puppets and stop motion. Well, it was made in computer animation, but I'm so pleased that you might even think it was stop motion, because both this film and the previous film I made with Oliver, which was Lost and Found, I really kind of secretly wanted to do in stop motion. My background is in puppet animation, but both films needed to do and show things which would have been really, really difficult to do in stop motion. So we decided to do it in computer animation, but we kind of made everything look a little bit like little miniatures and little stop motion-y things. So if anyone even thinks it's made in stop motion, I'm really happy. But it was CG.
Cool. Thank you for clarifying that. And thank you, Marco, for bringing your interest. We do have a question, I think, for Hallel and or Maddy about today, this event at the One Earth Film Festival and being here now, and maybe in some of your roles in your youth programs. Were you nervous when you found out you would have to do this? I guess speak today about what it is you love. So Hallel or Maddy, jump in if you want to speak to today's experience for you.
I can share. Well, I really enjoy talking about the environment and conservation, because that is something I want to end up doing in my future. And so, yes, of course, I'm a little nervous because this is live. But no, I do love talking about nature. Yeah.
Someone wants to know how long you've been involved. You're in 10th grade, you're 15 years old. How long have you been involved in Roots and Shoots, and how did you actually get started?
I've been involved with Roots and Shoots for about 3 years. I started when I was an 8th grader. But before that, I was very involved in Girl Scouts, which actually led me to start with the building blocks on how to start my own projects. And so I've been, I guess, kind of involved in projects for around 11 years now, which is actually a really crazy long time because that's more than half of the time I've been here on this planet. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Looking at Finn in the movie, who's 7 years old, and seeing how enthusiastic and passionate he is about certain things, such as rockets. Was there something, I'm always fascinated when I see someone your age who is so passionate about something. Can you remember back in your childhood when you were first really moved to really speak up about nature and our planet? Just a
The
simple
first
story.
time I think the first time I think I was really moved was in my 3rd grade classroom. I was looking up for a book to read during silent reading time, and I stumbled across a book called Who is Jane Goodall? And I was like, oh my gosh, there's monkeys on the cover. I love monkeys, which I then found out were actually apes. And so that's kind of what ended up leading me to taking Jane Goodall as my idol. I look up to her so much, and when I grow up, I do want to be like her to the best of my ability. And so that was kind of the start of when I realized I wanted to help our environment and work with others in creating the best earth possible for everyone.
That is so moving. Thank you, Maddy. I have a quick question for Allison. Allison, do you remember when you decided you were going to be an environmental educator? How did you know? I know you're a mother now. When did it start for you personally?
I remember when I was in high school spending a lot of time in the woods. And then somewhere right around when I got to college, I realized that I could make a career out of my love for being in the woods. And I didn't know that. And so part of my career path has been to make sure that more kids know that that can be a job and a vocation or a volunteer project or something that it can be part of your life. I think, as Maddy mentioned, from when you're really little, all the way grown up, that's an option for you.
Thank you. That's so good to know. I hope everyone's making note of that. Elise and Grace have a question for Hallel. Hallel, what is Earth Force? Will you just tell us what it is you're involved in, please?
Earth Force is an environmental group who work with kids and I think middle schoolers, and they take them on trips to environmental museums and on camping trips to get kids out in nature.
Oh, that's so cool. So that's for middle schoolers. Can you do that when you're younger? Did you do something before middle school?
No, I wasn't really involved in any environmental programs before until 6th grade.
Oh, wow. Just real quick, what hooked you? Oh, I was going to say, what hooked you? What made you sign up, Hallel?
Well, I had recently started getting more involved in 5th grade, and it was just the perfect opportunity for me to find somewhere to actually get out and start doing things to change my environment.
That's great. And this makes so much sense with what Allison's doing. She's helping make these programs available so somebody can just, decide to sign up and get involved. In the interest of time, I think we could turn to our action slide right now so the audience knows that each of us have come up with ideas for getting into action right now. What can you do today? So I will ask all of our panelists, starting with Maddy, to share an idea, inspire us on ways that we can be living on planet Earth in fun and helpful ways. So I'll go through Maddy, Hallel, Allison, and Phillip to please share an idea.
Well, just like the film said, look at the big picture and also start with what you know. So if you know that there's trash somewhere at a public park or there's trash somewhere else in your community, I would say maybe organize a pickup for that trash. Or you can research local groups that are involved in the environment some way and correspond with them and see what they need help with and what you can do with them. That's how I've mainly got involved, is just researching local groups and trying to help what I can.
Thank you for that inspiration to organize. We've all got phones, texts, every way to get together, even a group of 3 or 4 people. Awesome. Hallel, do you have an idea for us? How can we do something today?
You could stay in tune with the environmental changes going on in your environment and try to stay in the news about things that are changing and happening and try to find a way to get out there, maybe protest or let your voice be heard.
Thank you. In the chat, if you have any recommendations on a website or really great resource that someone could find news, please share with us. Allison, do you have an idea for folks today to get living in planet Earth?
Yeah, I think I have 2 big things I would say, and I'm going to point it a little bit at the parents. 1, get outside. Everybody get outside. It's a spectacular time to be outside. No matter the weather, go out and explore and be so excited about what you see. You don't have to know the names. You don't have to know why things are the way they are. We're teaching kids how to be curious and inquisitive, and that's your job as a parent. It's also our job as parents to model the actions that Hallel was talking about, that Maddy's talking about as well. So if our young people are going to be able to know what types of protests are happening. We have a lot of stuff happening in the city right now around the General Irons contract, stuff like that. We need to model for our kids how to speak up, how to speak out for those who need it the most, and to make sure that our city is a place where an environmental justice is thriving. So parents, we got to write the letters, we got to go to the protests, we got to stand in solidarity with people who are hunger striking. All of those things help show young folks how we can take action in our communities and in our house, in terms of how we manage our households as well, in terms of energy efficiency and recycling. All that's great to do as well.
Thank you. Phillip, do you have an idea for us? How can we get involved in our planet today?
Yeah, I mean, I can't follow what Alison said, and we just need to all listen to Maddy and Hallel as well. I think they've got it more covered than anything I'm going to add here. Suffice to say, I think I've always said to my children, just don't try and worry about the big picture. Actually, just look after the bit of the planet that you're on, and if everybody does that, that becomes very powerful. If you don't just be happy to take what the planet has to give to you, think about how you can give back some love to the planet as well. I mean, it might be trite to say it, but if we all do tiny something, then that's, we can accomplish big and wonderful things. And then one other little side thing on that, I've got a poster at home which was given to me. A friend of mine, an artist who made a poster with a simple message on it, gave it to me many years ago, and I've had it on my wall. And I look at it every day, and my kids look at it every day, and it's the last thing we see before we leave the house every day. And it says, "Work hard and be nice to people." And if you can adapt that to whatever you're doing through the day, we're going to be okay.
Thank you so much. It's nice to have a philosophy and pinned on your wall. Well, folks, we are going to share with you right now on the screen various actions you can take, and you are going to receive these points that you'll see on the screen with a recording of today's discussion and a transcript of the chat. I did want to call out a few ideas that we did see come through in the chat, actually before the film. Rosemary and Bennett said, use stuff that you are done with for another purpose. Okay, that is wildly creative, and thank you, Bennett and Rosemary. I know what I can do today about that. Nancy also said, plant native flowers. So in your region, find out what is a native flower and plant it, because folks, they will outlive you. She also pointed out, if you can't plant a flower, appreciate the pollinators who are visiting your native flowers. So there are many ideas here. You will get a copy of this. And right now, I want to quick thank our panelists, Phillip Hunt, Allison Paul, Hallel Howard, and Maddy Gregg, for giving so generously of their time. wisdom, stories, and experiences. Thank you so much for being here. And before we wrap up and conclude, I want to ask the audience, did you feel a sense of this year's celebration of the 10th One Earth Film Festival and inspiring change through our film and our discussion? And if you did, would you please right now share in chat, share with us how you're ready to make change and inspire change. What do you feel compelled to do today after the film and the discussion? Put it in the chat. We're all reading it and we want to know and we want to take notes. So if you have anything, everyone take a look at the chat. And Sean had sent something. I'm sorry I missed. He said, follow at Chicago Hunger Strike as they try to keep the air clean on the southeast side of Chicago. So those of you here in the Chicago area, take note of the group that Sean has recommended. And great. All right. I'm not seeing any chats come through, but it might be that my screen is delayed. So you will get a transcript of the chat, a recording of today's discussion, all the resources and links you've seen posted, and definitely visit social media today and tell us about your experience. Go to all your favorite social media spots. Visit the links here if you want to learn more about Earth Force, Jane Goodall's Roots and Shoots, the Keller Science Action Center, or Studio AKA, the makers of today's film. And a huge, huge thank you to all of you for being here right now, for sharing your stories, and for being a part of the 10th One Earth Film Festival. We have a lot more films for the next week or so, and we hope to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, thanks, Marcos. He's heading out for a bike ride right now. Right on.